I want to welcome everybody to this edition of the Mayor's Brief. With me today, I have Kevin McLaughlin, and he owns Larema Coffee Shop here in Rocky Mount. So welcome to the show, Kevin.
Thank you for having me, Mayor.
You know, you've got a fascinating story, so I want to hear it from the beginning to the end. You know, how you ended up in the coffee shop business in Rocky Mount, the GoFundMe process, and you really have built a tremendous following, I think. And then, of course, we'll get into the COVID period. But let's just go back to that Genesis story, because I think it's fascinating, and folks who don't know it, I think, really ought to hear it.
Thank you. So I'm originally from Cincinnati, Ohio. I went to Miami University in Ohio for undergrad. Public administration actually was my major. And really, ever since I was a kid, community development, just bringing people together has always been my greatest passion. So once I got to campus at Miami of Ohio, I noticed I was spending all of my time at this coffee shop. I just felt most comfortable and welcomed and creative and just a sense of community there. And I thought, maybe one day I could try my hand at this. I just think it's a dynamic space and really can be sort of a cultural hub for a community. So after graduating from Miami, I moved right down to North Carolina to attend graduate school at UNC Chapel Hill, also in public administration, and just was really trying to hone my skills at local government and community development and just understanding how local communities function and trying to find my fit in that. After graduate school, I went on to work for the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency over in RTP. Very meaningful work around air pollution policy. I mostly did communications there. But I really felt over time that I needed to return to my local level roots. And so about 2014, I started working in coffee shops where I lived in Durham just to learn about the craft, from doing it with my own hands, and, worked at a bunch of different shops over the years while I started to look for a location to start my own shop. And found some trouble finding the right location in Durham, started looking around the edges of the triangle, and happened upon Rocky Mount and was really pleased with what I found here. The more I learned about Rocky Mount, the more I learned that my vision for this business really seemed to align with a need that I found in the community, which is a coming together place for everyone who lives here.
Right. So Larima as a title has a specific meaning, and we also got to talk about how you started it. I mean, the GoFundMe piece, I know was just a minor part of the funding of the restaurant, but I'm on the outside looking in, and of course, my background is business and particularly entrepreneurship. Mm-hmm. What a brilliant way, really, to kind of get the word out, to almost have built a little bit of a customer base before you poured that first cup of coffee. Mm-hmm. And so, I just want to hear a little bit about your thoughts on that, how you went down that road, and the meaning of it, because I think that's kind of a cool story as well.
Sure. I'll start with the meaning. Larema means my friend. In northern Uganda, where I've traveled, I've been to 7 different countries around the world to study coffee, specifically where coffee grows, just to learn about all the hard work that goes into it. So moving on from there, as I was making coffee for people over in Durham and Chapel Hill, starting in 2014, just talking to people about my dream and opening my own shop, I started to build friendships through that, and people that were cheering me on and hoped that one day they could see it become real. And then when I started to come to Rocky Mount, really I was going back and forth every day from Durham, just coming here to meet with people and, talk to them, learn about Rocky Mount, and just really get a good sense of the whole of this community. From that point, it was so clear that if this was going to happen, it was going to be a community-driven thing, even from, before it was even open. So, getting a Kickstarter together to crowdfund it, one thing is the funding, but more important to me is sort of the emotional attachment that people have. They are truly a part of making this dream become a reality. So I put together this 3.5-minute video kind of talking about the vision and me and Rocky Mount and why I saw that it would be a great fit at this time. And the idea is that people give a little money and you give them a reward for that once you open. And it turned out over 250 people contributed to make this dream happen. And, through that, it provided a much needed source of funds that, I was struggling with banks to give me loans. And so, it took all my savings and more debt, and the Kickstarter campaign was a key part of that to make it a reality.
That and building that customer base. That's a little bit of what the success of the Obama administration in that first race was, I'll take any donation, even $1, $5. Because to your point, once I've given you that money, you've now become my man. I want to be part of that. I want to be, become more, builds a brand loyalty, which I think is just a fantastic idea and approach. And congratulations on all that. So I didn't realize you were from Cincinnati. I think that's interesting. So I've got really two stories. One, my son and I have been traveling all around the United States to see all the baseball parks, and so. Nice. We went to Cincinnati. It had to be the hottest day on the face of the earth. I mean, it was scorching. I mean, the temperature wasn't so hot, but the humidity coming off the river was just unbearable. But it was the day that Pete Rose was admitted into the Hall of Fame, at least locally in the Hall of Fame, which was kind of a big deal. So he was invited back to baseball. So I remember it both being unbearable, and of course I'm a Sigma Chi, which is one of the Miami Triad. So we've kind of connected on 2 points there, and I think that's just kind of cool.
Excellent.
So anyway, so let's talk about downtown, and let's talk about you had a vision, cool space that you got. What did you see in the downtown thing, and as a businessman down there, let's talk about what we could do to improve that, just from a conceptual standpoint. I mean, nobody's pointing fingers, but what do you see? I mean, you're living it every day. I visit it once in a while, kind of thing. So I'd really like your insight on that.
Sure. Yeah. The main thing that drew me to Rocky Mount physically was the downtown, just the amount of historic buildings. You just can't create that anymore. Like, they are telling hundreds of years of stories. Each building has so many stories to tell, and I, through a friend of a friend, I got to meet Jesse, who's the owner of the building that I'm in. And he has an interest in breathing new life into some of these buildings and sees all the great qualities that they hold. So, he and I took the time to carefully renovate this 110-year-old bank. It was First National Bank, built in 1910. There's a story that they were making liquor in the basement during Prohibition, and that's why there are glass blocks along the sidewalk to let light into the basement. It's just fascinating, and to be able to go in and see the condition, and then slowly peel back, floors and walls and ceilings, and reveal original components that were in remarkably good shape, be able to restore that and build in new. You honor the story of the past and create a chance for the community to write a new chapter. So that all very much attracted me. And honestly, downtown is just fascinating that the city is, split right down the middle, 2 different counties. I think it's a story that needs to be told. And,
Sure.
So if my idea is to build a really community-driven space where all are welcome, it's all inclusive, and, the very lifeblood of the business is the people that come to it and have their events there and show their products there. And, we partner, our whole menu is really just full of collaborations with local people. And, to have that right by the train tracks, to me, it just fits. It's such a neat opportunity to build unity in downtown. And I'm just honored to be here.
Well, so back to the, downtown, of course, is kind of an unusual period that we find ourselves in COVID. But, has there been a sufficiency of traffic flow? What things, obviously when the event center was churning and generating events, there was customer count down there, but that's really the key to it. So what can we do? Or if we had to think outside the box, what types of things you think would aid in the redevelopment of downtown? Because I think everybody in our community wants to see that and wants to see it be successful. And so again, I think you've got a unique perspective, and we'd just love to hear your opinions.
Sure. When COVID hit, we made up our mind that we were going to put health and safety of the whole community, including our team, as the top priority. So that quickly made us adapt. And, we haven't been allowing indoor seating just yet, although we are finally planning on doing that this weekend, which I'll say more about. But, we moved to outdoor seating, curbside pickup, and a walk-up counter inside the front door, just to make sure we were keeping everything safe. And thankfully, to this time, it has been safe. But on the other end of that, our revenues have declined by more than 50%. We've had to reduce our hours drastically. We've just really been open on the weekends throughout COVID. And it's just been really hard to make ends meet. But in a general sense, the big point I would like to make to the city is just the importance of supporting local. Like when you're thinking of where to get that cup of coffee, it truly does matter. Every single cup is crucial, especially in times like these. I know Dunkin' has a drive-through, and that is closer perhaps to where you live, or it's easier to get in and out, but if you take that extra minute just to, call us, or even I set up an online ordering platform where you can just go on our website, pick out what you want, and we'll just hand it to you at the door, when you get there. That means the world to us. I think Dunkin'.
I'd like to point out too, I think Dunkin's a fine company, fine product, but there's nobody there that has been to 7 countries studying coffee and how it's been grown and learned the craft the way you have. So, I think that brings a little something extra to every little cup of coffee that you produce too. Definitely. So I think we just need to highlight that. There's a very difference in the product as well. So maybe it is worth that extra little drive.
I think it is, and it means the world to us right now. I mean, really, if people could just put in the extra effort to come to us for coffee, breakfast, lunch, anything, it really means a lot. We're even selling beer by the individual can. I have a lot of different beer from Rocky Mountain Mills, the brewers there, and I'm just wanting to kind of amplify the good work that's being done across our community, and that's what we're about at Larema. It's local, and we're here to celebrate local and celebrate the diversity of this city. So to help us continue to exist, we really need the community to choose, even down to like where they're getting their cup of coffee in the morning. It truly does matter.
Sure. And you have to-go sandwiches, or at least you used to. I don't know if you're still doing that. So I'm sure you're still offering that. So it's not just coffee in the morning either. It could be, pick up for lunch as you're open. So you're opening this Friday, this weekend. And what are the hours, the new hours going to be going forward?
So for Friday and Saturday, 8 a.m. to 6 p.m., and then Sunday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m.
Okay.
And this weekend, for the first time since March, we're going to, in a limited fashion, have indoor seating. So we're finally ready, to partner with the community on, keeping it safe. So that means, wearing the mask when you come in, place your order, and you take a seat, and you can take the mask off then, enjoy your time with a friend, or have your drink or food. And if you need to get up to leave or go to the restroom, we just ask that you mask up. It's as simple as that. And it's just to keep everyone safe. Sure.
And I think we were talking a little bit before we started this segment that, it does feel like people are beginning to take it a lot more seriously. The COVID, masking up, washing your hands. And I think that North Carolina, as a result, is beginning to see a flat line in the number of new cases and even slight declines. I mean, we're way too early to be celebrating that yet, but we can celebrate at least the small steps. And I think it's encouraging that it's allowing you to be able to open back up.
Definitely. Following the statistics has been very encouraging recently, and I'm hopeful that we're going to continue to go in that direction, and that takes everyone, playing their part and taking it seriously.
Sure. Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to leave now, but I'd like to ask you, what should we leave our viewership with? What thoughts do you have that you want to impart to the city of Rocky Mount?
Well, mostly I just want to say that I'm thankful for the continued support. I mean, we just opened in September, hit our 6-month mark the very weekend that COVID hit.
Wow.
So we had first opened our doors September 11. March 11 was 6 months. We had six of 7 days that week. We had events scheduled. We were rocking and rolling, just having a blast, being a place for the community to come together. And so it's been a very difficult and unexpected challenge. This wonderful work of bringing people together suddenly has become potentially dangerous. So for us, it's just been, adapting, trying to stay positive, and really focusing on gratitude that the community has embraced us, with open arms and wants to see us move through this and be here for years and years to come. So I just want the community to know that we're very grateful, and we just are asking for continued support as we weather these unprecedented challenges.
Man, I appreciate you coming. I love your story. I can't hear it enough times. I'm glad you shared it with us, and I hope the most success for you going forward that we possibly can. I want to encourage, of course, our viewership to go and support you and support local, because it does matter. And that's what we've been trying to do here as well, is support all of our local vendors to the extent that we can, because you're right. I mean, I'm going to spend some dollars on something, for food. Why not go to Larima, to my friend's house, right?
That's right.